Hello and welcome. We're going to go through a motor examination. We're going to start with a pronator drift test. Here we're going to have the patient extend their arms out with your palms up for me. Here we're going to wait 5 to 10 seconds, viewing to see if the patient drifts the arms into pronation. If they're negative here, we can test them with their eyes closed. If you close your eyes for me. And again, noting here any drift from the arms into the pronator position. Good, you can relax. We're going to do the same things with the feet. So I'm going to ask you to extend both your legs. Here again, now I'm looking for more of that pronation with the feet, more of an internal rotation aspect of the legs. So again, close your eyes here. We can wait 5 to 10 seconds to see if the patient's legs pronate or internally rotate. You can relax. They were negative for the pronator drift test, so that's good. So next we're going to go into a spasticity, rigidity, and tone testing. So for this we need to note that normal tone, the muscle is flexed and can be moved passively and actively with controlled smooth movement. We're going to be looking with this test for any hypertonia, which would include spasticity and rigidity, or hypotonia, which would include kind of a flaccid state or absence of muscle tone. For this, we're going to be testing 3 different joints. We want to check for spasticity, which would be unidirectional and velocity dependent, and we want to check for rigidity, which would be bidirectional and velocity independent or non-dependent on velocity. So we're going to check first at the elbow. So I'm going to ask you to give me your arm here. So I'm going to just relax. I'm going to bring the elbow first slowly and passively through the full range of motion into both flexion and extension, and note if there's any rigidity here or difference in muscle tone, but here the muscle feels normal in tone. Next I'm going to go through a velocity dependent move looking for spasticity, so I'm going to move your arm or your elbow very quickly through the range of motion here. We're going to check both flexion and extension, and there was no spasticity noted with that movement. Next we're going to move on to the wrist, so I'm going to ask you to just keep your arm like this for me. Actually, we'll turn over. Just like that. That'll be a little bit more comfortable. Same thing. I'm going to start by moving the wrist through the full range of motion, slowly and passively, checking for rigidity and tone within the muscle. And the muscle tone seems to be normal. No rigidity is noted in either direction. Next, I'm going to take the muscle through, or the joint through the quick range of motion. I'm going to flex up, both in extension and flexion, looking for any spasticity, and there was no catching there. Next I'm going to try the knee joint, so we can look in the lower extremity. So if you'll lay down for me. Good. And then if you'll just give me this like here and relax, I'm going to take the knee joint as well as the hip joint through the full range of motion passively, so we can check here. Through the full range of motion. No rigidity is noted through this movement, and the patient has normal tone in both their hip flexors and extensors, as well as their knee hip flexors and extensors. Now we're going to move very quickly through the range of motion, checking for spasticity again. And again, the patient didn't display any signs of spasticity with that. So the last portion of the tonal assessment is going to be to assess between 2 postures, being decerebrate and decorticate. With the decerebrate posture, we're assessing to see if the patient's upper extremities are extended with the elbows or the wrists flexed, and the lower extremity would also be extended with the feet plantar flexed. The patient doesn't seem to be displaying this posture. The other posture that the patient might be displaying is the decorticate posture, which would be very similar in the lower extremity, but in the upper extremity the arms would be flexed and the elbows would be flexed as well. So that's the decerebrate, which would be with the arms extended, and the decorticate, which would be with the arms flexed, and the lower extremity would be flexed and dorsiflexed, or extended in the legs and dorsiflexed in the ankles. Plantar flexed, excuse me. Plantar flexed in the ankles. Again, but the patient is not displaying any of these signs. They've got a normal relaxed posture while in the supine position, so that's good. And then that concludes our tonal assessment and the motor assessment.